Imagine walking into a 19th century apothecary. The air is thick with the scent of dried herbs, roots, and glass bottles labeled in Latin. A pharmacist pours you an amber liquid, lightly sparkling. He calls it root beer. You take a sip. The first sensation is sweetness. The second is a cooling tingle, almost numbing. And then a faint memory surfaces, a familiar scent, like a muscle rub or medicated balm. Here lies the paradox, the molecule responsible for that smell. Methyl salicylate is the primary component of wintergreen oil. In Europe, it is associated with medicine, clinics, and topical treatments. In the United States, it became a symbol of summer of iced root beer and backyard laughter. One molecule, two cultures, two nervous systems programmed differently. Root beer is not merely a soft drink, it is a carefully arranged chemical structure, where molecules do not simply dissolve into one another, but interact like elements in architectural design. To understand why the world is divided by its flavor, we must examine how flavor itself is constructed, from the molecular foundation to the fragile foam resting on top. The flavor of root beer is not random. It resembles a symphony orchestra, where each section holds its own register. The bass notes come from roots such as sassafras and sarsaparilla. Sassafras once contained a compound called safrole, an organic molecule with an aromatic ring attached to a methylene-deoxy group. This ring structure allows it to interact readily with olfactory receptors, producing the distinctive earthy, slightly smoky sensation. The middle register belongs to vanillin, the principal molecule in vanilla. Vanillin contains a benzene ring with an aldehyde group, enabling it to form weak bonds with receptors associated with sweet aromas. It does more than add scent. It softens the sharp edges of wintergreen, much like a cello smooths the brightness of brass instruments. At the top sits methyl salicylate. Its structure includes a benzoate ring and an ester group. When it evaporates, it travels quickly through the air and activates TRPA, one receptors inside the nasal cavity, creating that characteristic cooling sensation. Interestingly, this molecule can stimulate both the olfactory system and mild pain receptors at the same time, which is why it smells pleasant yet feels sharp. These three layers do not blend into a single uniform block. They stack upon one another. When you drink, lighter molecules rise first. Heavier ones linger. Flavor unfolds over time, not just across space. Root beer is four-dimensional architecture. It happens in sequence, like a story told through chemistry. But flavor is only part of its identity. Root beer is recognized not just by its aroma, but by its foam. Unlike many modern sodas, traditional root beer used root extracts containing saponins. Saponins are amphiphilic molecules, one end attracted to water, the other repelled by it. This dual structure turns them into microscopic engineers. When carbon dioxide CO2 is forced into liquid under high pressure, it dissolves to form weak carbonic acid. Once opened, the pressure drops and gas escapes as bubbles. But bubbles are fragile. Surface tension causes them to collapse quickly. Saponins act like molecular steel frameworks. Their water-loving ends anchor into the liquid phase, while their water-repelling ends orient toward the gas. This creates a stabilizing membrane around each CO2 bubble, producing thicker, creamier, longer-lasting foam. This is not magic. It is basic physical chemistry, reducing surface tension and stabilizing colloidal structures. Yet the sensory effect exceeds the theory. The foam functions as a thin, insulating layer, trapping aromas near the surface. You do not just drink root beer. You inhale it. Foam bridges liquid and air, taste and smell. In this architectural design of flavor, it serves as the dome of a cathedral, protecting and amplifying what lies beneath. We often believe we taste with our tongues. In reality, the tongue detects only 5 basic tastes: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. The rest happens in the nose. When you drink root beer, Volatile molecules travel upward through the retronasal passage, a process known as retronasal olfaction. The brain receives these signals and merges them with memory. In the United States, methyl salicylate is associated with wintergreen candy and sweet mint toothpaste. The brain encodes it as safe and sweet. In many European countries, however, the same molecule is linked to muscle lineaments. The brain activates medical memories rather than culinary ones. The difference does not lie in the molecule. It lies in the nervous system. Neuroscientific studies show that the orbitofrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for processing reward, is heavily influenced by cultural experience. Flavor is not merely chemistry. It is memory triggered by scent. That is why root beer can be dessert in Ohio but carbonated mouthwash in Paris. The sense of smell is a magician, and root beer is one of its boldest performances. In 1960, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA banned saffrole after animal studies suggested a risk of liver cancer. That decision was more than a medical adjustment. It forced the industry to redesign root beer's flavor from its foundation. Saffrole had been the soul of sassafras. When it disappeared, chemists had to reconstruct the flavor using safer synthetic compounds. They analyzed molecular structures and recreated aroma profiles with alternative esters and aldehydes. That moment marked root beer's transformation from a biological entity into an engineered one. Like replacing hand-laid brick with precast concrete, the product became stable and reproducible on an industrial scale. But the natural roughness, the unpredictable quality of real roots gradually faded. We now drink a standardized version, where every molecule is controlled, every aroma measured. Safety prevailed. Authenticity paid the price. Root beer demonstrates that flavor is not simply a collection of molecules. It is a cultural structure programmed into the brain over time, from its herbal symphony to its architectural foam, from the illusion of smell to the molecular revolution of 1960. Every layer of root beer reveals something profound. What we call delicious is the outcome of chemistry, memory, and industrial politics. A simple soda can become a national symbol merely because of how we learn to smell it. And perhaps the most fascinating question is not whether the world loves or hates root beer. It is how a single small molecule can divide an entire planet simply by the way it smells.